Thank you very much, Zizi, for joining me for today's episode on Youth412. Are you excited to be here? Are you happy to be joining us with Youth412?
Yes, I am. Mhm.
All right.
It's an honor to be here.
Yeah, I mean, we are excited to have you here and we can't wait to have this conversation with you. Before we start, can you just please tell us a little bit about yourself, especially for those who don't know you?
Okay, my name is Zizi Majola. My background is quite, I don't know, puzzled up a little. I grew up on a family which was all Christian, and then but then my parents passed away when I was still young, and then my mom's friend is the one who raised me, and then she's the one who taught me to be a Christian and live my life and dedicate my life to God for the rest of my life, of which that I'm still doing till this day. So yeah, I think that covers my background.
Wow, wow. Thank you very much for sharing that with us. And perhaps, what can you say about, being young and being active in being a Christian or in spiritual matters, what has that been like for you? Yeah.
Well, I can say that firstly, when you're in a different location, it also goes with how much pressure you're getting and how much pressure are you willing to accept, and as to how you're handling yourself as well. It plays a huge role in your life because if you're in an environment where you mostly get peer pressure or that person who's still trying to find yourself as a person with everything that is going on in the world and how everything is changing, if you're easily influenced and you don't have like a backbone, so to say, like you don't know how to stand your ground and say this is not for me, you can easily get lost in this world. So if you are saying that I am a Christian, then you gotta have a backbone for that. So that's how I'm surviving.
Wow, that's so interesting. That's so interesting and so true. It definitely requires a
It
backbone. I mean, the
does.
three Hebrew boys and Daniel will tell you that, they had to have a backbone and be able to stand for their faith, whereby everybody else was doing something else. It definitely is something that is so true that we need to have a backbone and be able to stand for our faith. Yeah. So, I mean, speaking of our faith, a big part of us as Christians, a big part of what we um what defines us, not defines, but like what people identify with us is church, going to church. And so perhaps, today we are talking about to go to church or not to go. And that is the main question. So I want to ask you first, like, do you go to church? I mean, how often do you attend church?
I go to church. I'll say that I go to church. I attend youth services. I attend church, the people that call church, which is like your normal Sundays and everything. And then you get also like your get togethers that are done by like the youth, especially. Those are the ones that I enjoy because you get to experience insight. Well, since now I'm in Cape Town, at the time I was in Durban, so I was involved a lot in all of that. And it's an interesting journey. Like going to church is the best decision that one can make because if you are young and or you're an adult, but like a young adult transitioning into whatever, having a connection or having a support structure that is faith based and that will like constantly hold you responsible and accountable to your decision, because you're going to know that if I'm slipping, I have a sister, I have a brother who's going to be like, this is what we are for. So remember who you are in Christ. Remember that you once said that you are a child of God. And don't forget whose you are, because in this world, one thing that we need to understand as Christians or as people is that we don't need to be perfect to go to God. We don't need to do things. It's not what we do that justifies us, but it's by Christ. So that we need to
Oof, oof.
understand that.
Wow. I seriously, I mean, you just took me to church right there. I mean, thank
Yes.
you very much for that. That that is so powerful. I mean, you don't have to be perfect to go to God. I mean, that is something. And I mean, we try so hard. We think that we
Yes.
need to be a certain way in order for us to go to church. I mean, that's so absurd.
Just go.
Exactly. And I mean, I've heard this quote so many times, but it's so true that, church is like a hospital for sick people. You can't just
Exactly.
say, "Guti, "Melengi kota, I need to just be proper before I go to hospital." You are sick. You have to be sick in order for you to be able to get well. That's where you belong, and so, man, that is very interesting. And perhaps, just to look at the life of Christians and the role of church in our lives as Christians. What is the role of church in our lives, especially as young Christians? Why do we need to go to church?
You know why we need to go to church? I'm gonna detour a little before I answer your question because I remember back in 2016 I was strong in faith but not strong in faith, if that makes sense. Where I was mad at
Yeah.
God for at some point, and I was like, when you expecting God to, I won't say do something, but then I was trusting God so much that I was even, when you like all about saying I'm going to church, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, where you think that God is going to justify you according to what you're doing, or God is going to like you more according to what you're doing. But then that's not how it works. I had to experience that in as much as whatever you're saying that you're going to do, or that whatever, God doesn't look at all of that. He just wants you to be in Him and live in Him. And then when you're doing that, going to church is just going to be like, yo, I have a date, so let me attend my date.
Mm, mm,
So it's all about that for me now. I don't take it as if like I'm going to church. I just take it as if I have a date.
mm.
So a lot of
And
people might be excited for that.
yeah, I think I love that aspect that you just introduced. That, I mean, going to church. Sometimes we think that going to church is what justifies us. It makes us look good in front of the eyes of God, and it's what will give us salvation.
Yes.
But we don't go to church because of that. We go to church because we want to connect with God. We want to build a relationship with
Yes.
Him. It's not something that we do to get something from God or to get justified by God, because all of that has already been done. So we just go because we have a date with our Creator. So I definitely love that. And just to go back to that question, perhaps young Christians today perhaps might not see the necessity of going to church that much. So what would you say is, what role does church play in the life of a young Christian, perhaps, like, as well as you, for example, in your life, you did highlight, but maybe you can just use that as an example as well.
Okay, so this is what church does to a person. It's a sort of, it builds you, it builds your character. It like the character that you require to sustain your faith in Christ. It gives you that. It builds your hope. It teaches you to engage better, to be a better person, treat as better. It teaches you how to handle yourself, how to handle situations when you feel attacked, when you feel down, and then you go to church. You get restored. You feel like, okay, now this is time for me to compose myself and know that I'm not doing all this by myself. I didn't put myself wherever I am. It gives you that power to renew your mind, to renew your thinking processes, and know that, you know what, I have people that I can trust in the Lord, where you can go and consult with a person and be like, this is what I'm going through. And then they empower you. It teaches you that in life, as a person, you need people that are going to surround you. You need God to be the center of your life. In as much as you can say that I've achieved this and this, but you like, it makes you understand that everything that is going on is for a purpose, and it's by grace and favor that it's all happening and it's all aligning, and that you need to reach a certain purpose that God created you for. It teaches you that in the world, you're not here to fit in, but you are here as a passerby, and you need to constantly remember that as a person, that you're not of this world. So you're not bound to conform to anything that is here, but instead do what God wants you to do so that you make it a better place while you're passing by. Because there's this thing that I once read. It says, purpose is not meant for you, but then for the people that you meet. But then the purpose is meant for you to fulfill it so that the people that are surrounding you can benefit from it, even though you think that it's what you desire. But then it's not. It's just that it's meant to benefit other people. So church is all in all meant to empower people and teach them to be better people and handle themselves in a way that God handled everyone, that they would want to be handled. You are muted.
Oh my god. I I'm so sorry about that. These
It's
things
okay.
happen. Uh, I can't believe that happened. But I was just saying how mind blown I am right now at everything that you just said, especially the last part about that your purpose is not there to serve you, but it's there to serve everyone else around you. When God gives us a specific mission or purpose, it's there for you to be able to bless others, for you to be able to help others. So I really love that. And that church restores us, it renews us, it teaches us, empowers us to be better people, to be better Christians, so that we can have more
Yes.
impact in the world. I definitely
And have a
love all of
closer
that.
connection to God,
Mm,
because it's all
mm,
about that, getting to like draw your strength from the Lord, because you can't survive this world without that. So it
that's so
constantly
true.
restores you and gives you the strength, and God constantly reassures you, I am still here even though you might not feel it. Sometimes like you go to church and then you don't even feel like going to church, but then when you get there, God just talks to you in a way that you've never imagined. He just answers that one question that you didn't even think that you needed a response for.
So true.
And then yes, it just gives you like a different hope. And then you're like, okay, God's got me. I am favored. I am loved by God, because that's what's important. And people should know that they are loved, because a lot of people do crazy stuff for love. So they should, like, church gives you that sense of belonging, that sense of love that no man can give you, that no human being can give you that. So they need to feel that. Church gives you peace when you get there, you're like, I am home. So people need to get that
Mm,
feeling, you know, they need it
sure.
in this world.
Mm. In a world whereby we do crazy things for love, we need to remember that we are loved. We don't need to do anything to receive God's love, because He first loved us. I love that. Like, where sometimes we feel like we have nowhere to go, church is there as our home, as a place for us to go and be reunited with God. And you just, as you're talking, a verse that came to mind was Luke 2 verse 52, that Jesus grew in wisdom and favor and stage in stature with God and man. And I think that's what sums church up so perfectly, that when we go to church, we are able to get connected not only to God, but also with our fellow men. We're able to
Yes.
fellowship with men,
It with
but also get connected to God. So that's just so beautiful. And I think sometimes we forget that. And you said something that is so interesting, that when you go to church, sometimes you don't feel like going to church. And so you did say that God will sometimes speak to you, and address maybe the exact need that you have at that moment in time. And so I just wanted to ask you that, is it necessary for us to go every week to church? Sometimes, like, we feel like, man, I don't want to go to church right now. I'm so, like, I'm so down, and everything. I really am not in the mood today. What do you say to that? Is it necessary for us to pick ourselves up and actually go?
a first question that you should like ask yourself every time when you're feeling like that is, why are you feeling down? Because God didn't give you a spirit of that. you know that's the first thing that you need to address as a person. When you're like, today I'm so tired, maybe that is the day that God wanted to say something that is so particular to your life. That's when that you need to press on. You have the days that you don't feel like going to church are the most important days for you to go to church, because there is something profound that is meant to be delivered to you. You don't even know whether God has destined something for you on your way to church for that particular day, even if you don't have to go to church, but something that is along the line. That's one thing that I've learned, that I've experienced personally, where I was like, today I'm not going to church. But then I ended up going late, only to find out that I was supposed to meet a stranger that I didn't even know, who needed my help at that time. So God might have wanted to use you in a particular day, but then the devil, or I'd say the spirit of laziness, is trying to disturb all of that.
Mm.
But then God is like, there's something pressing that is going on. There's something pressing that you need to attend to today. So wake up, go do that. I need you to, I have a mission for you in this day. So it's important when you're feeling lazy, pray and be like, God, why am I so lazy? This is crazy because on some days, like when I don't feel like going to church, I switch on my alarm and then I'm like, God, if you want me to go to church tomorrow, make me hear this alarm. And then if not, I'll just snooze it and then go to sleep. And then
Then what
I
happens?
do that. And then it's obviously gonna go on. And then I'm still gonna snooze. And then I'm like, okay, I'm gonna snooze this alarm. If you really, really want me to go to church, make something that's gonna want me to wake up so that I can know that this is you.
Mm.
And then something is gonna happen. It's either someone is gonna knock at the door that I need to attend, or it's either I'm gonna be like sweating in a way that I'm like, okay, I'm up, or it's either I'm gonna need to go to the bathroom. So any of those reasons happen. So then I'm like, okay, I gotta go to church. So what I'm trying to say is that every Sunday, every opportunity, in fact, it doesn't have to be a Sunday. Even if you go 3 times or 4 times, every opportunity that you get to go to church, you should go, because you don't know when your next church will be. That means you don't know when your next date with God will be. Because we often, like a lot of people, don't pray every day. So going to church gives you that opportunity to be in a clear mind, in a clear state where you're focusing on God, where you're focusing on that particular date and like, okay, this is where I am. So Father, I'm offering myself to you now, because that's what he wants. He wants you to offer yourself at his service.
Mm.
So going to church is the thing.
Yeah, no, I mean, definitely. And, you just gave me the thoughts that, church is the place whereby you have no other distractions around you. As much as you can, pray at home and have a service at home, it's different than being in an environment whereby it just cultivates that um, spirituality, because it's designed for that. It's where God dwells. Not that he is not where we are, but it is his place, whereby you can just go there without the distractions of the world and just connect with him. Be in the moment. I love that. I'm definitely going to apply some of those tips that you say you use, trying to make sure that the devil doesn't get me down when I have to go to church. So I think to everyone who's listening, you should definitely apply that. Make sure that s- you set the alarm or something that will just set you off, and remind you to go to church.
Exactly.
Because yeah, the devil
And it does
tries.
work. It does work every time.
I mean, that's definitely something that I'm gonna use, because the devil does try to deter us from going to church. Yes, it's his mission. He knows that that's where we are renewed. That's where we get our strength from, and then he tries to make us, forget about everything. And perhaps, I don't want to speak too much. Speaking about being busy and everything like that, because we do have other things in our lives, and someone might say that, but I'm just so busy, occupied with schoolwork, I'm occupied with work. Yeah, so what do you say to those people,
to that person.
yeah, to that person that I just feel I can't because there's just so much to do. Do they set it aside?
You know what's funny is that I actually went through that situation this past weekend. So there was this big soccer game that was going on Saturday, and then people like they needed to catch up on work on Sunday because they couldn't, since they were so excited for the soccer match and everything. So I asked them, so you're not working today because of the game, but then you're saying that you're going to work tomorrow when it's a Sunday instead of going to church. So you prefer soccer over God? So like you're basically taking that thing, empowering it that much that you're gonna like sort of make it your idol, that this is more important. This is the priority that I have. Like try to set your priorities straight. Who exactly is your creator? Who exactly is in charge of your schedule? What happens when you don't even get the opportunity to go to work because in the first place God gave you that work. You didn't put yourself there, it was all by favor. So can't you take that particular church takes like 2 hours maximum? Can't you take those 2 hours at least and dedicate them to God? So that's the question that I posed. It's like, can't you at least sacrifice that? The 90 minutes, can't you take them and do something else and then at least go to church for those 90 minutes? You're complaining about
Mm,
work that it's so much, it's so consuming. Who gave you that? Can't you take a moment to thank the person who placed you there and say, I'm grateful for this? The person who's going to give you strength to carry on with that work. Can't you take a moment to thank that person? So it changes how a person thinks when you ask them such questions. Like, who placed you there? Change your mentality, change how you think. Look at the person that created the situation. Take a moment. God teaches you to be calm in the storm because He's always calm in the storm. Like, everyone is so busy and running around. He's just like, be still. I am God, I'm with you. So you need to remember that. Everyone needs to remember that.
okay, so what if you tell them that and then they respond to you and be like, but God is everywhere, you know? I don't necessarily need to go to church. What do you say to that?
Yes, God is everywhere. I'm not against that. He is omnipresent. But then remember that every every human being in this world can never be alone. That is a fact. In as much as God is everywhere, but you can't be everywhere. You can't be by yourself. So you need someone. You need a congregation. You need that particular place that you're gonna call home, that you're gonna go to be like, okay, now this is where I want to be at this particular moment. Now this is the place that I'm going to draw strength from. These are the people that are going to be part of my life and be part of my journey that God has given me. So you need that. I always tell that, yes, you're going to be there, but then you're by yourself. So God says, where two or three are gathered, there I am in their present. So if you're constantly separating yourself, you're giving the enemy a better chance of attacking you because you're by yourself and you have no one to be like, pick up yourself. I am here to carry you. I'm by your side. So you need to remember that where two or three are gathered, there I am in their midst. So you need someone who's going to walk by your side and always be there to help you when you're limping. You're limping, then the person is there to just help you limp. Go towards your goal, go towards God to get strength, to get healed, because after you're going to go back to the hospital, which is the church.
Mm, mm.
So you can't be by yourself.
What you just said just reminded me of the story of um, the man who was, I think, lame or paralyzed, and then his friends brought him to Jesus from the roof, you know. And I guess church does play that role, that the people
It
around you,
does. It was a
mm,
perfect demonstration. It was a
you know,
perfect
the people
demonstration.
around you I mean, bring you closer to Christ. You know, that's what the congregation is supposed to be there for, whereby we help each other by bringing each other closer to Christ. And I think that's what happened when, you know, during the COVID season, whereby we weren't going to church. It was so much harder, you know, to stay strong for some people in such a way, including myself, in such a way that after the COVID, I mean, it's not over, but like after that, those lockdowns, many people stopped coming to church, because they were so discouraged. And so the role of the church is there to just keep us motivated, and keep us, keep our faith strengthened. And we've talked about the good sides of church, and maybe we just can enter into a little bit of, um, the I don't want to say the bad side, the more controversial side. Now, some people have had bad experiences at church. Either they've yeah, I mean, there's so many things, because church is filled with sick people, people who aren't perfect themselves. We are all sinners, and sometimes we don't treat each other the right way. Some people might be rude to some people, and people get discouraged because of that. And the other terrible experiences which people have faced within the space, which is supposed to be a safe space for us, as Christians. So, you know what do you say to those people who are like, I don't want to go to church simply because I've experienced so much hatred, gossip, or whatever. Yeah, I mean, I know it's a bit of a touchy subject, but I know that there are some people who might be hearing, who are going through that experience. So what do you say to those people?
What's funny is I was also one of those people in at some point.
Really? Wow.
Yes,
Hmm.
despite me growing up on a family that is like was encouraging me to go to church and everything. But like in 2016 I was, remember when I told you that I devoted my life to God on that particular year? Like I was
Yeah.
at a stage where I was like, I wanted, where you grow up like going to church and all that. But then I was like, I want to make my own decision as to which church I go to. Like I just like I don't want my family deciding that this is the church that you need to follow. But I didn't like completely neglect the church, so I'd like go to the one that I wanted to go to and then go to the one that my family goes to. So then this particular incident happened where it devastated my life to the most, where I, when you literally feel like you just want to change locations. I was at that
Sure.
point.
That bad.
Yes. So this is what happened. If I can share, I don't know. But it's like I had, like with school, I was in matric at the time. So we were a group of friends, and then on my friends we were two who were born again, and then the rest were like going to church, like on different churches. So then this person invites me to his church, and then I have my church. So I go to his church. It was closer to home, so I'd go there more often because they also had like your youth services on Fridays. They did prayer meetings. They had like your it was so nice when they had the whole night prayers and everything. Then I used to go all of that and excited until this one particular time where everything just changed, and the person who invited me to church started to act weird towards me. And then when that happened, he was like, I don't trust you anymore. You're not the person that I thought you were. You're not living your life for God, but then you are possessed with the spirit of the devil. So you're not really a child of God. So imagine someone telling you that.
Mm. Sure.
And then I didn't like quite understand. So I got confused and I asked God, is like, what does he mean when he's telling me all this? And then I started like not going to his church that much, but then I still continued. And then there's this one particular Sunday that I missed. And then when he went to, like, we went to school on Monday, he was like, you didn't go to church. And then the pastor was looking for you, like his pastor. He was looking for me. I'm like, why? What's so particular about it? And then the next Sunday I went, only to find out that he told me that I should pack up my. Imagine it's in the middle of the service. You know when you like do praise and worship, and then it's all done. Then the pastor goes to the like pulpit, and then he calls out your name,
Yeah.
and then you look up as to why am I being called? And then he's just like, pack up your things and leave. I don't ever want to see you coming back to this church because you and your pastor are involved with the devil, and I don't associate myself with the devil. So don't ever set your foot here ever again. So imagine being told that during the service in front of everyone. I was mad at God.
Yo.
I was mad to the fullest. I was like, God, how can you let such happen when I'm saying that I'm following
Sure.
you? How can I be this embarrassed by a pastor that claims to be your son, that claims to be that he's called by you?
Mm.
If he's seeing the spirit, why can't he just, cast it out instead of chasing me away from you? How am I supposed to trust you again? And then that is when I cried that day and I told myself that I'll never go back to church ever, that I'll never trust God ever in my life. And then fast forward, I went to varsity after that. I was still mad at him. And then when I got there, I was still ashamed about what happened because I didn't want to like share it. This is actually the first time I'm sharing it loud. And then I was like, I'm never going back to God because how can He let such happen? Why couldn't He do anything with it? Like, that was the most confusing part for me as to why would you cast me out? You said you want people to come to you as they are. Then now, why would you chase me away? Why can't you help me? Why can't you mold me to be what you want me to be? Because I've offered my life to you. I'm ready to serve you. That's where I was like, I'm done. But then the interesting is that when I came to Durban with that mentality, you know, I was told this: God wouldn't let you experience something without a purpose, despite of how painful it is. You may not see it at that particular time, but then it's definitely for a
Mm.
reason. So if someone is also in, maybe, I don't know, a worse situation or experienced something that is worse than the one that I experienced, I'm gonna tell that person that for me it was where I was like, okay, if I believe in God, I need to stand my ground, and I need to tell myself that no man can tell me otherwise, because that man is not God. So I needed to face God personally and be like, okay, so since you told me this, now clarify,
Mm.
what am I supposed to do with my life? Why did you bring me here? Because you said you knew me before I was even formed in my mother's womb, that you had plans for me. What plans are those? You knew me for what? Why did you even create me in the first place? Until I find that reason, I'm not going back. And then the only way to find that out was to actually go back. So, you see how controversial that is, where you don't want to go back, but then you have to go back because you want to find the answer as to what's my purpose? What is it that you said in Jeremiah that you were creating me for? Why did you let that happen? I can't find that out if I don't come to you, the person who actually allowed the situation to happen. Do you get what I'm trying to say? I can't have the answer if I'm not confronting you as to tell me, why did this happen? Which is exactly what people need to. There wouldn't be so much hate in the world if people actually talked, if actually people went to that particular person and be like, what's going on? Can we resolve this? There wouldn't be all of this. So that's what I did. If a person is thinking that church is the worst place to be, consult God about it. Do what I did. Consult him and be like, God, you said you have a plan. You said nothing will take me away from you. You said you will never separate me from you. So why are you doing this? Go back to him, question him. He's going to reply. And that will lead you right back to him and giving you more answers and making you more and like understand more of his way.
Sure. Wow. I mean, that is. I mean, thank you very much for sharing that experience. I know that it definitely wasn't easy, but you've definitely opened my eyes to that, and I'm sure somebody who is going through a similar situation or has gone through that similar situation now knows that, go to God, talk to Him about it, because all of these people who are at church with us, they are sick just like us. They are sinners, and you can't really expect much from sinners. We are all working to be changed by God, and so the only person you should really, look at is the doctor, who is Christ, who is God, who can heal us. And so, that is something which is so beautiful. So, to go to church or not to go, the question has been answered today, that we need to go to church. We
Go to
need to
church.
go to church, because
You have
that
to go
is
to
our
church.
safe space. That is where we get to connect with God. That is our hospital. And we are sick people who need a savior who can heal us. Thank you very much, Zizi, for everything that you've shared. I mean, I am so amazed and so grateful for all that you've shared. And so, I don't know, maybe you can just say goodbye to everyone at
Thank
home.
you for having me.
Th-
Goodbye to everyone.
Thank you very much, Zizi. Thank you very much to everyone who was watching or listening to this episode. We'll catch you next time on the Youth412 podcast. I don't know if you want to drop any of your handles where people can check you out to catch you, uh, if you want to.
I'm not really that social on social media. I'm not really that social.
Thank you very much, Zizi, for joining me for today's episode. Thank you very much for you who is watching today. Catch you next time, same time. Remember, young people, do not let anyone look down on you because you are young. Rather, set an example for other young believers. Conversation in spirit and word and in love and purity. Good night. I mean, okay, I don't know when you're listening to this, but God bless you.